Imagine a city with no cars, no roads, and no pollution. A place where you can walk out of your home, step into a high-speed autonomous pod, and be at work 170 kilometers away in under 20 minutes. A city powered entirely by renewable energy, cooled by AI-regulated systems, and mirrored skyscrapers that stretch into the clouds while casting zero shadows. Sounds like science fiction, right? Now, what if I told you this city isn't set hundreds of years in the future, but was promised to be partially completed by today, in 2025? This is The Line, the crown jewel of Saudi Arabia's NEOM project. A linear city across the desert, planned to house 9 million people with zero carbon emissions and 100% AI integration. But here's the twist. 3 years in, despite all the global fanfare and jaw-dropping CGI, the reality on the ground is something very, very different. Since its unveiling in 2021 by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, The Line has been heralded as the future of urban living. It was positioned as the centerpiece of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030, a sweeping plan to diversify the kingdom's economy beyond oil. The Line was marketed not just as a city, but as a bold civilizational leap. Governments, corporations, and tech visionaries around the world watched with cautious optimism and, in some cases, outright disbelief, as the Saudi government promised to bend steel, code, and climate into something the world had never seen. Teaser, 1:1:30. Now, in the summer of 2025, we traveled through construction reports, satellite imagery, drone footage, and insider leaks to answer one big question. What's actually happening with The Line today? Is it a futuristic utopia in the making, or a mirage evaporating under the desert sun? What we uncovered includes scaled-back ambitions, mounting controversies, hidden pivots, and a surprising shift in focus that might redefine the entire NEOM project. You're going to want to stick around because what's happening behind the curtain could change how we think about cities forever. When The Line was announced, it made headlines globally. Renderings depicted a 500-meter-tall mirrored wall slicing through the Saudi desert like a portal into another dimension. It would stretch for 170 kilometers from the Red Sea deep into the northwest and rise higher than the Empire State Building. Inside would be vertical layers of living space, homes stacked over parks, schools hovering above shopping districts, all managed by AI systems that would anticipate your every need. It was more than just a city. It was presented as a rethinking of urban civilization itself. Construction officially began in late 2021, and by 2022, satellite images showed early work on the desert plateau near Tabuk. By 2023, heavy machinery moved in. Tractors carved into the desert, laying the initial groundwork for what would become the foundation of The Line. Hype surged. Global architecture firms raced to get involved. Recruiters began hiring tens of thousands of workers from South Asia, Africa, and beyond. Billions of dollars were funneled into early infrastructure. But then, the momentum began to stall. In 2025, official NEOM promotional material still shows The Line as this shimmering utopian beacon. But the boots-on-the-ground reality is far more grounded. Independent investigations and leaked construction documents reveal that only around 2.4 kilometers of The Line are actively under construction. That's less than 2% of the planned length. Even more telling, only a fraction of that is structurally complete, primarily groundwork, support columns, and early-stage modules. Insiders from some of the engineering firms involved say that building mirrored walls 500 meters tall across a 170-kilometer stretch of harsh desert is not only technologically unprecedented, it's dangerously impractical. Desert winds, sandstorms, and unstable ground conditions have led to delays and redesigns. One source even claimed that after months of excavation, engineers discovered unexpected groundwater channels that weren't accounted for in initial surveys. forcing an expensive and time-consuming revision of foundational plans. Even more concerning are the changes in public targets. NEOM's leadership has quietly revised its population goals. While the initial promise was for 1.5 million people to live in the line by 2030, that number has reportedly been slashed to just 300,000, and only within the initial 2.4-kilometer zone. By mid-2025, whispers began to circulate. Some insiders and analysts believe NEOM is already working on a Plan B, a pivot from a continuous 170-kilometer linear city to more modular, scalable clusters. Rather than one massive structure, the line may evolve into a series of linked smart zones, interconnected by high-speed underground transit systems, but built more like mini-cities than a singular urban organism. There are even unconfirmed reports that suggest Saudi planners are now exploring the possibility of building downward, into the Earth. Underground logistics centers, transit tubes, and AI-controlled cargo systems are apparently being considered as alternatives to the towering glass walls that have become the line's visual trademark. If true, it's a major shift. And it hints at something deeper, that even with virtually unlimited funding and political backing, not every vision can be willed into existence without compromise. Tension behind the scenes, the human and political cost. 45 to sick. The line was never just about architecture. It was also about ideology. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 seeks to project the kingdom as a global innovator, a hub of tourism, business, and green technology. NEOM is meant to embody that ambition, but massive undertakings come with massive consequences. Numerous human rights organizations have criticized how the project has displaced the Huaytat tribe, an indigenous group with centuries of ancestral ties to the land. Multiple reports have documented forced evictions, detentions, and even allegations of violence against dissenters. One tribal activist, Abdul Rahim al-Huwaiti, was shot and killed in 2020 after speaking out against the evictions. Saudi authorities claim he resisted arrest. Activists claim otherwise. The international investment community has taken notice. While some companies continue to support the project, others have pulled out or remain hesitant, citing reputational risks, slow ROI, and ethical concerns. As of 2025, some of the initial global enthusiasm has cooled into cautious observation. Still, the kingdom pushes forward. As the line's future remains uncertain, Saudi Arabia has subtly begun diverting attention toward other parts of the NEOM initiative, projects that are actually gaining traction. Oxagon, the floating industrial port city, is progressing far more steadily than the line. Designed as an octagon on the Red Sea, it's being marketed as the world's largest floating structure and a key logistics hub. But unlike the line, these projects don't rely on monumental scale or radical urban reinvention. They're futuristic, yes, but achievable within current technological and financial constraints. The real legacy of the line. Maybe the line was never about completion. Maybe it was always about narrative. It told the world that Saudi Arabia was done being defined solely by oil rigs and desert heat. It was an announcement of intent. We are thinking bigger, bolder, stranger. Even if only part of the line ever materializes, it has already succeeded in capturing the imagination, and perhaps that was the point all along. Like the moonshot in the 1960s, the line is audacious to the point of absurdity. But even if it fails in execution, it could inspire a generation of architects, urban planners, and technologists to reimagine what cities can be. It forces a conversation. It confronts our old assumptions about what a city should look like. It dares to dream out loud. But the dream is only powerful if it's followed by action, and the reality, as of 2025, is still unfolding. Final reflection and call to action. So where does that leave us? The line remains a work in progress, part construction site, part concept, part cautionary tale. Is it a glimpse of tomorrow? A modern Tower of Babel? or a marketing experiment on a continental scale? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear. The line is no longer just Saudi Arabia's story. It's now part of a larger global dialogue about how we live, build, and imagine our future. If you found this deep dive illuminating, consider subscribing for more cinematic investigations into the world's most ambitious ideas. Hit the like button if you want to see us explore more mega projects like this. And tell us in the comments, do you believe the line will ever be completed, or will it become the world's most expensive eyes?